Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the epic story of Robert the Bruce, a king whose journey to the crown was anything but straightforward.
You see, his path began with betrayal and bloodshed, a really shocking act that made him an enemy of the church and put him on a collision course with the most powerful king in Europe. So how in the world did this fugitive, hunted and disgraced, manage to transform himself into a national hero and secure his country's freedom against, let's be honest, impossible odds? Okay, let's find out. All right, so our story kicks off in the late 13th century. And Scotland? Well, Scotland is in crisis mode. The throne is empty, and the super formidable English king, Edward I, sees this as a golden opportunity to assert his authority over the entire nation. This power vacuum led to this massive legal and political free-for-all known as the Great Cause. You had 13 contenders all vying for the crown. But out of that whole group, two noble families really rose to the top as the most serious rivals, the Bruces and the Commons. So in one corner, you had the ambitious Robert the Bruce, a nobleman with a really strong claim to the throne. And in the other corner, you had the powerful John Comyn, who was the most influential lord in Scotland and deeply connected to the established royal line. Now, the intense rivalry between these two guys, well, it wasn't going to be settled in a courtroom or in Parliament. Oh no. It was about to explode in a bloody and shocking act of violence that would change the course of Scottish history forever. So Bruce arranges this secret meeting with Comyn, supposedly to talk about forming an alliance. They meet on what should have been neutral holy ground, a church in Dumfries. And it's there that Bruce accuses Comyn of treachery, claiming he had betrayed a secret pact of theirs to King Edward of England.
Well, words quickly turned to violence. Bruce stabbed his rival right there, before the high altar. And this wasn't just some political hit. As you can see from the accounts at the time, this was a profound act of sacrilege, a murder in one of the most sacred places you can possibly imagine.
This single act of murder completely forced Bruce's hand. I mean, there was no turning back. He literally raced to Scone to get himself crowned king. But this defiance immediately led to his excommunication by the Pope. And after a swift military defeat, he suddenly became a king with no kingdom, a hunted fugitive.
Bruce was at his absolute lowest point. He was stripped of his lands, his family was captured, and his followers were being executed. But it was right here, in the wilderness of Scotland, as an outlaw, that he would completely reinvent himself and forge a new, brutal way of waging war. He basically threw the chivalric rulebook out the window. In an age of set-piece battles between knights, Bruce's tactics were totally revolutionary. By refusing to fight a conventional war, he turned the English army's greatest strength, its sheer size and heavy armor, into a weakness, using his intimate knowledge of the terrain to launch raids and ambushes they just couldn't counter. And Bruce's guerrilla strategy? It proved astonishingly effective. Over the next few years, he started winning vital victories. He destroyed the power base of his Scottish rivals, and he began to reclaim his kingdom, one castle at a time.
So by 1314, Bruce has the English cornered at the really strategic stronghold of Stirling Castle. In response, England's new king, Edward II, puts together this colossal army with one single goal: to march north and crush the Scottish rebellion once and for all.
And when I say colossal, I mean it. Edward II's force was truly massive, one of the largest professional armies ever to invade Scotland. We're talking thousands upon thousands of heavily armored knights and those deadly longbowmen.
And against them, Bruce could only pull together a much smaller force, made up mainly of determined but less equipped spearmen. The odds were just overwhelmingly, terrifyingly stacked against him.
On the first day, an English knight actually spotted Bruce and charged him directly. Bruce, armed only with a battle axe, sidestepped the lance and brought his axe down with so much force that he split the knight's head and his helmet completely in two. This one single act of personal courage just electrified his whole army.
So over the next 2 days, Bruce's masterful strategy trapped the larger English army on this unfavorable, marshy ground. The incredible discipline of his spearmen, who formed these defensive spear walls called schiltrons, proved to be unbreakable. It was a stunning and decisive Scottish victory.
Bannockburn, that was the ultimate turning point. It didn't officially end the war, not right away, but it completely shattered English military power in Scotland and secured the country's independence under King Robert I for years to come. Bruce would go on to rule for another 15 years, finally forcing England to sign a peace treaty in 1328 that officially recognized him as the king of a fully independent Scotland.
You know, even his death was the stuff of legend. He died in 1329, but not before making one last request, that his heart be removed from his body and taken on a crusade. So his body was buried in one place, his organs in another, and his heart, after a little detour to a battle in Spain, was eventually interred at Melrose Abbey.
But of all the stories, it's the legend of the spider that perhaps best captures his incredible spirit. While hiding in a cave at his absolute lowest point, he was inspired by a spider's persistence to never give up. It's become this perfect symbol of the unshakable resolve that really defined his entire life.
From an excommunicated murderer to a liberator king, Robert the Bruce's story is this powerful testament to how one person's absolute refusal to quit can forge a nation's destiny. And it leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? What truly defines a hero?